Right.
Okay, let's say, for whatever reason, that tomorrow the Eagles were to disappear. The team no longer exists.
Why would you even joke about this?
Oh, I'm going there.
This is horrifying. That's terrifying.
So, the Eagles disappear. Do you think that you could ever find a team that you would love as much as you love the Eagles?
I think I almost just started crying thinking about a world without the Eagles. Like, it's just, why would you even put that in a place?
Welcome to the ChadBurn Show, brought to you by M. Chad Baldwin.
Welcome to the ChadBurn Show. I am your host, M. ChadBurn. And we have a very fun episode for you this week coming from the Baldwin household, the headquarters of the ChadBurn Show. Last week was definitely a little somber note, a little serious. I still recommend everyone to listen to it if you haven't so far, to everyone listening in on this podcast. But we're going to do a little different format this week, a little more fun, a little more levity, just to get back into the roll of things. So I think what we're going to do to start off this episode, coming over, obviously last week, talk about Black Lives Matter and everything going on, the protest, still an important deal, but we're going to go back to sports, try and focus more on the material we've done before. But we're going to do a run through of the news of the week, get to then a segment later that we're going to call No Stupid Questions in Sports. But really, I wanted to just kind of go through and look what we're so far covering this week in all the sports leagues, since there's really been some chaos and insanity going on. But there's been a few news. First news week of the week, J.J. Watt says that taking a knee has nothing to do with disrespecting our flag, after a Twitter follower of his went on saying you would not see J.J. Watt taking a knee with 3 of American flag emojis. J.J. Watt luckily stood up saying you do not speak for me, and also said that he'd be willing to take a knee. That comes off of the news that Baker Mayfield says that he would definitely take a knee, which I think we're seeing both J.J. Watt and Baker Mayfield say these things and show that the point of the knee is against police brutality rather than disrespecting our flag is a great step forward, obviously, for white athletes in the NFL. It is good to see some people with high profile level. Obviously, we want to see someone with more credibility than a Baker Mayfield, who is still young. We'd rather see some of the older souls. J.J. Watt is a great start there. Also, shout out to J.J. Watt for Ultimate Tag. Amazing job. Continue the great work. That's 2 news stories. Next one, Tom Brady training Deion Sanders' 4-star quarterback son. So some good news out there and some fun. Can't wait to see how Deion Sanders goes with that. The other big news of the week in the sports world, as we run through kind of our list and checking off down, MLB is just an absolute mess. Major League Baseball cannot seem to get their act together and are still behind all the other sport leagues in actually having a return date. The owners, with absolute no regard for their players and completely concerned with their own paychecks, keeps asking players to take more and more pay cuts. This is after we had this discussion several weeks back where we thought the prorated model was what you should do. Pay the players for the games they play. However, from owners refusing to go to this prorated salary of the games played, to players now refusing to take anything less in fear of setting a precedent of a salary cap that could be used against them in further CBA negotiations, there seems to be no end in sight to this MLB holdout. It seems we may not get an actual season or any play in Major League Baseball, which is just disappointing across the board. Fans just want baseball back. I'm one of them. I'd love to see it right now. This is the time for baseball. Mother's Day, Father's Day, July 4th. All these days are when you want to see baseball played. It's the sport that represents America. However, we just want it back, but it does not look like we're going to get there. So much so that the Major League Baseball Players Association just asked the owners in the league to set a schedule for 2020 rather than continue to negotiate for this year. They're so tired of it, they're just like, screw it, go on, next year. Let's just look at the schedule. Let's get on to that since we're going to have to do other negotiations with CBA. I'm tired of it. Let's just move on. Not a good sign, folks. So it looks like we could have another labor dispute on our hand, ending in a strike. Players refuse to lose in the CBA renegotiations, and owners really don't want there to be a season because this year looks like they may lose more revenue if they actually were to start the season. They don't want it. These are just commodities and assets. To them, these teams are just another addition to their portfolio. And they just want to make a profit like anyone else. There's no belief to them that they should just do it for the love of the game. there used to be a time where these owners had a love for the game, where they had their teams because they loved baseball, because they wanted to be a part of the baseball culture in America. Unfortunately, they are just not excited like the fans to get the season back, unless they in some way can recoup losses from what they see as a revenue loss of the season. In the end, the summary for the MLB baseball disputes right now are billionaires and millionaires fighting over pocket change to them. That's how sad we've gotten, folks. We now have baseball millionaire players and the billionaire owners fighting over scraps, when in reality they should be looking just to get the league back to have some unity around it. So like I said, it's a slow week in sports. The only really exciting stuff we have is looking at MLB's owners having a tantrum, with the players just looking to get whatever they can out of it, with no end in sight. We have a few NFL players speaking up against the knees speaking up against those that don't believe in taking a knee and believing that's disrespecting the flag. So we have some NFL players stepping up to the bat for that, which is great. And we have another NFL awesome story with the Tom Brady, the GOAT, the legend, training another GOAT legend son to be a possible great quarterback. But that's where we're at, people. We don't have games. We don't have playoffs. We don't have end in sight. We're literally just talking about people talking on Twitter. That's what we got. And otherwise, it's just MLB and their stupidity. Seriously, NBA, NHL, MLS, all those major sport leagues are playing. European soccer is going, and MLB still can't get their shit together. Because the owners suck in baseball. They just don't care anymore about the game. And it's crazy. And the players, I get it, they're millionaires fighting over scraps, but there's no leeway. It's just not the love we had. Like, NBA was able to find a solution quickly. And in baseball, get over it. You might eventually, players are going to have to get used to a salary cap. You're already getting paid more than any other players in the sports leagues in the US. So get used to that. Just go with it. The salary cap would still be enormous compared to the other leagues. I just don't see where there's so much division in this between the two parties. And they're just going to have another strike like 94, 95, and it's going to be a nightmare. No 94 season like we all remember, with no World Series. So if that's what you want to do, fine. So with honestly sports being so slow to almost a comical level, we thought it'd be fun to bring on a new guest this week to the show. As we said, last week's episode was far more somber and needed. And I still, like I obviously said before, I encourage listeners to take a listen to the episode if you haven't heard it yet. But to change things up this week, we'll be running a little more of a lighthearted segment that is going to be based off another great podcast I listened to. If you listen to Freakonomics and Dubner Productions, you obviously know that they have a new show called No Stupid Questions. And what we want to do is kind of bring that into the sports world, where we're just going to ask questions of between me and my guest of just about the sports world, anything that we wanted to ask that we couldn't have asked before. Again, we are not ripping off. We are just saying we're asking questions from inspiration from the show. Do not sue me. So this week, I'm going to be excited to talk about sports and sports culture with a special guest to the program, my wife. Say hello to Leah Cardino-Baldwin. Come on in, baby.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
I know. It's so hard in these times to really get to book a guest that is literally in the same room as me. So thank you, sweetie, for coming on the show.
You're very welcome, and my knowledge of sports and passion of sport is going to be a great addition to your show.
That's what I mean. So we're going to go from literally, me always going on crazy with sports to you not really giving a shit about it. So I'm excited to see your questions as well as what you'll respond to my questions for. So for the fans to know, the segment we're going to run, obviously, we're each going to ask a question that will allow the debate to ensue, and then we'll move on to it. We'll go back and forth with questions, and I'm kind of excited to see what you've got and what I have. So I think because you are the guest and the lady, we'll let ladies go first in this one, and you can ask the question, and we'll get started off. So people, to our new segment, let's get rolling. Leah, what do you got?
Talking about ladies, I'm gonna jump on it right there. I have a question for you that's very relevant to the context. So, imagine that COVID actually only affected men. Wouldn't we all love that? Do you think that you would have gotten into the female leagues, like watching only female sport? And do you think that those leagues could survive without men around?
So basically, all men are affected only. No women
Yes.
can get sick, and all the women's sports leagues are running full bore. Would I get into it?
Yes.
I would say resoundingly yes. I do, because I don't, as much as like, obviously I do not watch a lot of the women's leagues right now. I still support them, and I think they're great. I think they're still athletes. It's still a professional league, and it's still exciting. There'd be some playoffs. I'd probably get into it. I don't really know. I mean, obviously we don't have baseball, but there'd be like softball leagues, obviously WNBA, women's golf. I don't know. Would you be watching them?
I don't watch sports.
Right.
In general, so I probably wouldn't.
Right.
Did you just say that female? There's only softball. There's no baseball for female.
No, it's women just play softball in the United States. Yeah, it's the softball is the only league. I mean, obviously there are baseball leagues for women that are like amateur, but the more professional and the higher level for women in that type of sport would be softball.
Interesting.
That's what, yeah. But I guess we would have the WNBA right now. They'd be playing this summer. Softball, I guess women's soccer, like they'd have pro sports there. I'd probably check it out. I don't have a problem with that at all. I think that it would just be more exciting, more competition. I think it'd be, but I also think it would be interesting because if they're the only ones on the platform, it might elevate them and maybe make theirs the more important and on the same par as men's sports.
That would be really interesting. Let's
Yeah, I know.
find a.
It also means that you would, in that same scenario, that means you would be able to go out and do whatever you want. I'd have to be stuck inside in quarantine.
I would be
Yeah.
out. Yes.
You'd be able to go to
Yes.
restaurants. Wow, it'd be a woman's world at that point too. There'd be no men at all in that. Man, what a dark world, right?
Oh, what a wonderful word it would be.
All right, well then, flipping from COVID, I'll go to you with this one because you are French.
I am.
Luckily, I know that. I mean, I should at this point. It's been years. So my question to you is, in sports, since you may not know, but you can speak culturally, what is the deal with the rivalry in sports between France and Italy? Why do you guys hate each other so much? What is going on with this?
Oh, Chad. France and Italy have a rivalry that just like spans throughout history. Honestly, I think that the rivalry that we have with Italians, it's not just on a sports level. First of all, we have countries that are very, very, very old.
Yes.
So and we're neighborhood countries, so we probably have been fighting since the dawn of ages. And I would say that we not only fight about sports, but about which of our country has the most beautiful language, which of our countries has the best like cuisine. I mean, French and Italian cuisine are like at the top of their games.
Yeah.
And we would probably fight to say that French cuisine is better than Italian cuisine, which I mean, I probably believe. We also fight about, the most beautiful woman, the most beautiful language. Like how many people say that French is a gorgeous language and Italian says a little harsh, you know?
I've probably not heard that, but I like that.
But yeah, so I would say the same way that you probably have like rivalries like against states inside
Yeah.
of the United States. Like
But it's
I
more
know
cities because the sports are cities, not states.
cities,
Yeah.
but because yes,
It's just
you-
rivalry.
you have-
Well,
but rivalries are
yeah.
there, and in sport, I don't want to say that France and Italy are probably on a similar level because I don't want to admit it, but we've had definitely moments in history. Think about the game that we lost because of I mean, I don't want to say because of Zidane, but
Yeah, the headbutt.
the headbutt
The
was
infamous
definitely
headbutt. Right,
a
that was
moment
against
in
Italy,
history
too.
that made us hate Italians even more.
Wow, yeah. Even though you guys were wrong and Zidane was wrong to do that.
You don't know what
was
he
said?
said to him. You have no idea what was said to him.
What
you can't
can-
attack
real
his
quick,
sister or his
what-
mom on the field.
What can you say? What kind of trash talking could you say that should warrant a headbutt to the chest?
I believe he talked about his sister or his mom.
Yeah, I agree, but like we also trash talking in any sport. There's another level because I think also why was he so sensitive to that? Because like in basketball court, you make mama jokes all the time. You diss on everyone's family. You do all point and like maybe you throw a fist, but he threw a headbutt to the chest, to the sternum.
It was memorable.
I know, of
It
course
was
it's memorable,
memorable.
but he could have killed a man. What they said. I mean, they got enough scar tissue up there to cause serious damage in there.
I think players have a lot more other chances of getting hurt than a headbutt.
Also, I feel like that really speaks to soccer, that his first instinct when it came to fighting was not to use his hands. Like, of course, a soccer
You
athlete...
can't use hands in soccer.
Exactly. He's like, he can't use hands, so he was like, I'm going straight for the head, to the chest, knockout. Like, amazing that a soccer player would do that. Again, no hands there. Okay, so I see that.
No hands.
So the rivalry's there and so on. But, I mean, who then is the big brother and the little brother? Who, I guess, has the edge in I mean, you're super biased. I just want to hear if you have any honesty. But who has the edge in this sibling rivalry of romanticism in language, women, food, as you said, and now sports?
I'm gonna say that language and women, I'm gonna go with the French.
I agree. That's why I married you.
And beautiful French woman.
Yeah.
In terms of culinary, I can't pick a side.
They
because
both have
I
their
love
own-
food
their own
and
good
I
stuff,
love
yeah.
food from all over the world. So I don't think we should fight about food. I think we should celebrate food.
I see. So food can be the ultimate equalizer.
Food is the ultimate
I like that,
equalizer.
yep.
And then in the sports world, I'll have to side with France.
Yeah, France. Well, I mean, so both France and Italy have World Cups to their name for soccer because we're going to do major European sports, obviously. So I think Italy, though, has 3, no?
I don't know.
I know France obviously has 2, one the most recent one. 2 stars. Italy has to have at least 2 or 3. Okay. And then rugby, who gets the edge on that? Italy's pretty good at rugby,
I think
no?
it depends on the years as
Yeah.
well because France has had some really good years. In
I think
rugby
France has had
and
the most recent success in rugby, no? Because, I mean, they were in the World Cup 3 World Cups ago. They were in the final against New Zealand. Was that 3 or 4 World Cups ago?
I don't remember.
Because that was 2011.
It was 2011.
Or 2012, yeah.
something like that,
So
maybe.
that's when, so in France in the final. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I'd be curious to see what people think. I mean, obviously, we have some Italian friends, too, who will probably disagree, but
For those that want a little taste of the French versus Italian rivalry, I strongly suggest watching the season 2 of Ultimate Beastmaster on Netflix.
oh, yeah, that's so true.
For
Also
those who
a great
are
show
not,
that you don't have there.
Yeah, for those who are not familiar with Ultimate Beastmaster, it's kind of
American Ninja Warrior.
An American Ninja Warrior, but you have commentators from every country for
Yep.
all of the Netflixes in this country. And the season 2 has French commentators and Italian commentators, and they go at each other
The whole time.
all the time.
They don't even
And
care
it's
about
beautiful.
America or Britain. They don't care about any of the other countries. They just diss each other constantly and go against West. So that's why it's funny. All right. So it's deep rooted. Like it is in every aspect is deep. That is crazy. All right. Well, that's all I need to know. What's your next question then?
What is my next question? Okay, let's do this. So, I have one because as much as we want to diss on Italian and French rivalry, I have to say the whole world would, agree that we're all against Americans anyways.
Bring it on.
So I want to say, do you think that America needed to be so good at a field sport, that they needed to invent football?
So I don't think it was needed, and I actually have some interesting background on this. Literally, in America, they saw it as, because it's back when, before football was made, so you had soccer and rugby did come over to the United States, and they were played. And Americans, I don't know how this personality was formed this long ago, but Americans literally quoted that they found soccer too boring and rugby too repetitive, that they wanted to form them together to create sport. And that's kind of why the football name goes over, because, they took aspects from both, right? Like the field goal, kicking a field goal is very rugby. Like that is what you do in rugby all the time. And obviously rugby is the older sport. We use lateral passes like rugby. Early in the game, you could kick it forward almost like rugby too. That was taken away to then form forward passes, which was unique to it. And they wanted to have a lot more scoring, which was like they wanted to get away from soccer and not have the low scoring games. So I don't think, all right, so because back then.
Wait. Are you telling me they wanted a sport where the scores could be really high so they could shine instead of having a 1-3 score?
Yeah, because it's fucking boring. It's so boring. I would support watching big soccer games and the World Cup stuff, but it's still boring. Like the fact that you can tie 0-0 is, in my opinion, that's I support still to this day, find baseball more entertaining than soccer. Always.
But your games are hours on end.
Yeah, because all right, fine. So there is a finite amount of time for soccer. I will agree to that and concede to that. But we enjoy having a full time of sports. We want to sit down and want to have some beers, want to have friends over. Sports is about the moment and about the community and the whole experience. It's an experience. It's not just one-off games. So that's why, I get it, because like soccer is basically year round. So European soccer, it's year round. So I get finite amount of time. But like for us, we have seasons. So there's only amount of time we can watch the game. So every game is an experience, because then there's these several months on end where we don't have it. So that's why I think it's the experience around. But to your original question, no, back then I don't think they wanted a game that they would be good at. I think they wanted a game that could be American and they thought would be more fun. Nowadays, definitely it's a sport that is only us and we're really good at. But I mean, you could say,
you call the Super Bowl like
world
champion of
champions,
the world.
Same with baseball.
There's only
Same with baseball.
the U.S. that plays in this game.
Not true. There are German leagues. We know you have a friend who has
But they don't play for
No, they
the
don't
Super
play for
Bowl.
the Super Bowl. I agree that the world champions remark is a very American-centric idea to think that we are the best globally. But I would respond saying that there is no better league than the NFL, like talent-wise, and that's just true. And the only thing is for example, baseball also says world champions, right, when they win. But clearly, the better teams could be found in Korea, in Japan, in Mexico, in the Dominican Republic. Like, all the Central American countries are the best talent in the world. I mean, they go play in the MLB, but there's reason to believe that the MLB would be destroyed in a World Series match against, like, a more global team. So I agree, like, in that essence. But there's no other better, right? NBA also says world champions, and you have all the Euro leagues, but the NBA is clearly the best team. The NBA is the best, has the best talent in the world. So I think Europeans go to the NBA to be a part of the better league. So I could see that possibly being a world champion. But I can agree. Yeah, it's a bit bizarre that we do that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but football definitely now. But I have a question too in that, because basketball, for example, is a sport that we then dominate now, but we didn't create it. So I think Americans also there's an obsession in some sports. We just we get so invested, we become the best. Because we didn't create basketball.
Sports are hopefully transcend borders, and you can find people with the talents and the skills. But I mean, you do say that you have a lot of players from Eastern Europe that come to the States to play basketball,
NBA,
but also because the salaries are just incredible, and attract the talent.
Yeah,
so.
I think you could probably find more consistent salaries for lower level players in Europe, because they have obviously the more distribution equality in the salaries. The sponsorships, I think, where more players in Europe make most of their money. But yeah, obviously there's bigger money in NBA. It's harder to get into, and there's more world recognition. I think because I believe Europeans watch the NBA. I mean, after Michael Jordan, we kind of saw in the documentary Michael Jordan made it a global phenomenon. I think there is more of everyone around the world, if they follow basketball, will watch the NBA. They'll also watch the local leagues, but the NBA is the epitome of the best. I am also open to having American football spread globally. I just don't think it will, because no one likes it.
It's a big game in Mexico.
Yeah, Mexico's fine. That's why we do have one game every year in Mexico City now. So that's true. All right, well, folks, that was a great question. I like that a lot, and I think that was true. And the World Championship is a whole nother...
I think that title is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of have to stop with the whole, best of the world complex that comes with...
I mean, you guys have
because
you guys have the World Cup, which is obviously world. They do open it to the world, so yeah. Well, I was saying Europeans. Yeah, I'm saying, but Europeans set up those. FIFA's a European organization. You know what I mean? They set up the giant, the behemoth that is the World Cups and stuff. And I imagine rugby is a European sport to begin with.
Yes, but rugby is really strong in South Africa.
Yeah, exactly. It's global.
And New Zealand and Fiji and
right,
Samoa.
But it was originally a European sport. I'm saying.
Probably.
That was colonially spread. Yeah, that then spread through colonialism elsewhere.
But you see the countries, especially.
Well, New Zealand's
in,
the best in the world.
South Pacific. And
Yeah, New Zealand and Fiji are some of the best teams in the world.
Especially in sevens. Like,
well, Fiji's
in rugby
best in seven,
sevens,
yeah.
you look at Samoa, you look at Fiji, etc.
Fiji won the Olympics because that was the most recent. That was the first time
When they
rugby
added
sevens,
rugby
yeah,
sevens,
and
yes.
down in Brazil, yeah, that was Fiji.
It's really fun to watch, actually.
I
Rugby
agree with that.
sevens is a
Well,
great
if
game.
rugby seven is the only one that America ever has a chance in, it's true. We're actually ranked in like close to top 10 in rugby sevens because we've won a couple tournaments in that. But the second it goes to 15, America just looks like garbage. They're terrible. And I still believe if America invested as much money in rugby as they do in the NFL, we would dominate the world stage. We would have the best talent.
Just leave us one game where you're not good at.
Yeah, but we would. I do believe that. Like, if you took some of the NFL players, and, like, the difference is I'm not saying take an NFL player, train them for, like, a few months and put them in a rugby game. I don't think they'd beat anyone in the world. I think if they...
work.
That's what I mean. I think if NFL players, for example, at a young age were pushed towards rugby rather than football, we would have the most dominant team in the world. Because, like, the talent pool is just huge. We have so much more people to choose from.
I mean, you have like 300 million people in your country.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I do hope that there's a lot of talent.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I mean. Like, the talent you see in the NFL could easily translate over if they learned the rugby skills early on and through a whole stage. Totally agree. All right, I'll follow up then on this question. If you could follow any professional, say, sports league, quote unquote, so like any activity, any competitive event that was in the format of a professional league, because right now we know you do not follow them. You have to listen to me, follow like the Eagles and everything like that. So what event / activity / sport would it be that you would be dedicated to follow?
Well, one thing that I already kind of do, but doesn't have the structure of a league,
like a season.
Would be cooking.
Like cooking competitions.
I really enjoy watching cooking competitions. I mean, we've been really into Hell's Kitchen recently.
Yeah, it's
there
true.
was the Final Table that was incredible.
Yeah, the reality show.
The Great Canadian and the Great British Baking shows, like
Yep.
all of those, like shows that push people to master the art of cooking. I would get really, really, really into.
Yeah.
But I mean, I mentioned it earlier. I have a love for food and for international foods that just like transcends anything else. And secondly, I would say maybe something that has to do more with talents in terms of like singing and dancing and stuff like that.
Yeah, like World of Dance and that. But the problem is that I feel like they're all like reality shows rather than like leagues.
But yes, because you don't have the same format of following an athlete in a team. You don't have the team aspect as much. And I mean, there are a bunch of renowned chefs and cooks.
Exactly, that are on the global stage.
When you look at Bobby
Flay,
like Beat Bobby Flay, like
that's a competition.
It is a competition. They come back and they have rounds, and you do have like the goal of like beating Bobby.
Right.
So I do think that there's some shows that kind of have this structure, but for sure it wouldn't be able to be a league because eventually those people's final like what they win, you know, would be to have their own restaurants, would be to have their own catering companies, would be to have their own, I don't know, like culinary schools.
Yeah.
So the end goal is extremely different than in sports where, you know,
the end goal
is to be the best at it.
Exactly.
And it's,
what if, I was thinking of this sport league because I just thought of it now actually, what if you had like each top chef, you have like Gordon Ramsay, Bobby Flay, Wolfgang Puck, the guy from the restaurant Noma in like Norway, then you had like David Chang, and then you had like the guy from the Italian restaurant, right?
Whatever you say next, like I will watch this.
Yeah, exactly. So like each of them are like team owners or team captains, and then they form a team of chefs, and then like they compete team wise in events like throughout a season. That would be
this
like
is like The Voice.
Kinda, but like what I'm thinking of is like we have like a literal sports season that expands like maybe 6 months, like 5 months, right? And they have like every week you have a competition between each of the different teams to be different like that. You get points based on how you do in those tournaments, and it will lead up to eventually a finale. And you follow those teams. You could have a like that. I think would be awesome. Like,
I would watch that.
Yeah, right.
I would watch that. I would follow that.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Yes.
And then you could have like each of the main, and that's how they'd form the different teams. They have cool names like the Gordon Ramsay Dragons, the Bobby Flay Musketeers.
Flayers.
The Flayers, yes, there you go, the Flayers. Wolfgang Puck's like wolves. I think you have to at that point. That's like it's just easy. It's right in there on the table.
I would watch that.
Yeah, right.
I would
See, that's an interesting sport event. I'd be down too. I think chefs could become. The thing is, I think the there's a boom right now of loving watching cooking, and there's a boom of love of cooking and how it's being done on a top level. That I think why not take this moment to like actually create a competitive world around it. I mean, it's one of the most competitive industries there are. Like, why not just put it onto another stage to be able to view?
I would watch it. I would 100% support this.
Yeah, that's me.
Yes.
I would love to watch a league like that. Oh, that's me. So do you have any other questions, or are you good on that?
I do have a question for you.
Oh God, finale.
That is might hit close to your heart.
All right.
Okay, let's say for whatever reason that tomorrow the Eagles were to disappear. The team no longer exists.
Why would you even joke about this?
Oh, I'm going there.
This is
there.
horrifying. That's terrifying.
So, the Eagles disappear. Do you think that you could ever find a team that you would love as much as you love the Eagles?
I think I almost just started crying thinking about a world without the Eagles. Like, it's just, why would you even put that in a place? Could I? I don't know. It would take some time, some healing, some me time. I'd probably have to, really learn more about myself and really dig down into me. But I mean, I could maybe follow a team. It'd just be so hard. It'd have to be a team that's not in, like, I could never follow the Giants, Redskins, or Cowboys ever, because of just the rivalry. Definitely couldn't follow the Patriots. I could see of maybe like supporting like Pittsburgh Steelers because they're closer. I mean, I don't really like it because it's the in-state rivalry, but.
So do you think that you would go by like close geographically, or would you go for like a team who's I don't know, whose coach you really, really love?
Yeah,
or
like I maybe pick a player.
Really
Yeah, like pick a player. Like if Carson Wentz, if they got rid of the team and Carson Wentz went somewhere, I might just follow him. I don't know. I think it would have to be someone not in the vicinity of the conference I followed. Man, that's just so sad. Wow. Imagine the Philadelphia Eagles were no longer a team. They were disbanded. That'd be so sad. What would the city of Philadelphia do? I mean, there's other sports leagues. We have the Sixers, we have the Flyers,
basketball.
we have the Yeah, of course, but like, man, who would you follow? That's crazy. Yeah, I would have to probably go further away even. Maybe like, I don't think I could pick like a West Coast team, but maybe like a historical team somewhere in Midwest. So it's just like different. I would hope that if the Eagles left like New Jersey would form a team. I know it. I'd probably go Jets.
Yeah?
Because my dad's a Jets fan. They're in another conference. They're not even in the NFC. They're in the AFC. They're still close to where I grew up. So like it's close to the region. And they have nothing to do with ever really playing the Eagles. Like, they don't matter. So I could probably go Jets. It'd be a horrible experience because the Jets suck. Sorry, Jets fans. Your team is terrible. But, that's probably where I'd have to go. Like, there's no other way I could support a team in the NFC, I don't think. Because there's too much history, too much rivalry.
Same way I will never go for Italians.
That's so true. Well, then I guess we'll end it because I have my last question. Now that I think about sports, and I want to ask you a very simple question because you've been around me now for, we're going on 8 years, finishing 8 years, going on 9 years soon.
8.5.
Yeah, and almost 3 years, being together. 3 years of marriage soon in a few weeks. You've had to endure a lot of football games around me. So, from before we started dating to now, getting close to a decade, do you like football now?
So, my thing with football, I would not go out of my way to watch it. I would not willingly decide to spend a whole Sunday watching football.
Right.
But this is the same way that I would not go out of my way to watch like a regular rugby season or a regular soccer season. I enjoy watching important games.
Yeah.
And I feel like the last 8 years, what I've learned the most is the structure of the game and being able to notice, what hell
the
is
nuances,
happening.
Small nuances.
Because, for someone who doesn't really like or watch football, the actual play goes so fast. It's
Yeah.
like you're watching the screen, all of a sudden it's like, huh, and then where the fuck is the ball? And it's like, something happened. But now I've been able to follow it a little better and be able to like see a little bit of the plays that are happening. So I do have, I am able to enjoy the plays a little more, and really think of the structure. One thing that I totally didn't realize before is that football is really just like a game of chess between two coaches.
A lot of it, yeah. And I mean,
that's what it is.
Yeah,
It's
players
like
players are
Pokemon
there.
cards.
Yeah,
They're like, I'm gonna play this one. I'm gonna play this.
players are there for execution. So you need talent to execute the plan. But
Yeah.
yes, everything runs through the coach's game plan. Yeah, 100%.
Just like it's there's not a lot of room for improvisation of the players on the field.
I would disagree in a sense, because obviously, like, when a play breaks down, right? Like, say the defense covers it really well, quarterback could run out. You know, he might be able to call an audible.
It's minimum.
I agree, it's minimum.
That is.
But like, there's also, like, for example, a defensive coach could call the perfect defense to cover that play, but a defender could miss a tackle. And then the play breaks free, and the running back makes it's a great defensive plan for a run play. Running back does a great juke, spin move. I mean, the individual talent, I think, excels it. But you're absolutely right that at the core of it all, it is a strategic chess match between two coaches trying to get the better of each other. Absolutely.
So I think that I now appreciate more the game than I did 8 years ago, where I thought it was ridiculous nonsense that it lasted 4 hours for what, like when you watch replays of the game.
Yeah, when I do condensed,
it's like 40 minutes.
Not
for a
even.
game
It's
that's
like
4
20, 30
hours.
minutes. It's like 20, 30 minutes of actual gameplay.
So that part I still don't like.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I love hosting, and like I said, I love food.
Yeah.
So I enjoy the fact that we can spend. Like, I've grown fond of what watching football entails, in the sense that
the experience.
it's like, we eat food and we have friends and you
Yep.
scream at the TV and you go completely crazy and you're like, you're up, you're down, you're screaming, you're crying, you're laughing. Like, I like that part of it more than I like watching the game. But now I appreciate more the game because I can understand it. But
fair.
I will not go out of my way to watch it.
Fair enough, baby. No, I completely understand, and at least I got you that far. I think that's a lot of good work I've done for this NFL community. I've done great work in that regard. I think so. Toot my own horn for that one.
Get
I
a
forced
French
her.
girl to understand football.
That's what I mean. I forced that one, so I am proud of that.
Only took 8 years.
But we're finally there. Well, on that note, I think that was a great place to end it with the NFL. I want to thank you, baby, for coming on and joining, having the wife on. I think you did a great job. Excellent job for the show. We'll definitely be repeating this segment. I think it has to come on again.
I will have to try to find questions that really hit the spot.
Yeah, exactly. Really get the needle. That one was sore. That made me almost tear up.
All of your Eagles fans are just gonna start hating me now.
I know. I mean, imagine that dark world like that.
I'm an Eagles fan. Trust me.
Yeah, she's sports. Trust me, it's good. But man, what a dark world that would be. No, but on that note, thank you so much, baby. We really appreciate it. We're gonna end the episode there. I want to thank everyone for listening in. We took a little different way than we have the last few weeks, so I want to thank everyone for checking out the new segment. I think it's something we'll probably repeat and go forward with. It's definitely, especially with nothing going on in sports besides MLB and the players talking in the NFL. So it's bleak, it's slow, it's comical. Might as well have fun with it, right? There's tag. Ultimate Tag. Check out Ultimate Tag. It's amazing. Shout out to Flo, LaFleur, and the Bulldog for giving me some chat and comment on Instagram. So appreciate that. But to everyone out there listening, as always, you can follow us and keep up to date with all the new episodes on Instagram at ChadBurn Show. Also, you can email me, chadburn.show@gmail.com. Again, chadburn.show@gmail.com to submit questions, ask about the show, anything you want to inquire. Happy to talk to you there. We also have our Facebook page where we have our updates, the ChadBurn Show, and the YouTube channel to see all the visuals from the episodes you're listening to. We try and get those up a day or two after the episode actually airs on both, obviously, listening-wise for podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple iTunes, Stitcher, any major platform that you listen to. You can get to this podcast, so be sure to check that out. Thank you as always listening. We're going to continue to bring you great content. Until next time, have a good evening and good night.